Hi, I'm David Gibson at the Center on Religion and Culture at Fordham University. I'm here with Andy Peterson, founder of the Justice Film Festival. Welcome, Andy.
Hello, David. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
We're so pleased. We're going to be hosting for the first time one of your February Film Festival, New York Film Festival entries. We'll talk about that in a little bit. First, Justice Film Festival. What is it? How did it start?
Yeah. Well, thanks for the invitation to get to speak of it. It's a very, very special thing that we've been lucky to do since 2012. We've been bringing this thing around. We've been in Philadelphia and Chicago and Los Angeles. And about 9 years ago, we moved permanently to New York City. And it's just been wonderful to be there in New York, bringing these films that are designed to shine a light on social justice for audiences of students and advocates and anyone really that has any stake in this conversation about what does it look like to live a kind of common good oriented life in the world that we're in. Uh, how can we celebrate good and true and beautiful films that expose us to some of the challenges that we see around the world and provide solutions for where maybe we are rubbing up against some difficult conversations in the culture. And so it's really great. It's been fun to have a forum that's really dedicated to platforming redemptive stories, incredible individuals, marginalized people and ecosystems that have overcome tremendous odds to survive and thrive. And we really see our work as trying to bring hope and compassion and light into a world that oftentimes can feel pretty dark, obviously.
And this comes out of your own personal faith commitment, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, my faith in Christ is what drives everything that I do. The event itself is not really positioned as a faith-based experience per se. But I think the outcome of these films that to me celebrate the justice that Jesus talked about in Scripture. And so when I think about Jesus, and of course, there's a lot of people that talk about things that Jesus said or didn't say. When I think about the things that Jesus said that seem to be the most important to me, they were typically about justice. They were typically about caring for our neighbors and widows and others who were vulnerable or oppressed or had needs. And, you know, as the church and as communities and even on your campus, you know, there's many of us who are wanting to stand in that gap and wanting to say, hey, what does it look like to have the hands of Jesus in these difficult times? So these are films that largely celebrate that, regardless of the perspective the filmmaker may have, you know, what their personal faith may be. I find that all truth is God's truth ultimately, and we've got a great opportunity to really share some beautiful stories through the films that we bring to Justice Film Festival.
Yeah, and I love that because it's it's comes out of your faith commitment, but is so open to everyone, obviously. And there's nothing. It's a place where people like you and I can come together on common gospel values, but where anybody we can find common ground, as you say, for the common good. And again, so few spaces where we can come together. The movie theater, culture, the arts seems to be one of them.
Well, it's a safe place. And, you know, some of us have spent a lot of time and energy in our lives trying to get people to come to church with us to varying rates of success. But movie theaters and dark rooms with projectors and screens tend to be a place where most everybody does feel like it's safe and a welcome environment for them. And I find that the medium of film still to be is probably the most transformative kind of media there is out there in a world where we are very distracted by our mobile devices constantly on, constantly with us, attached to us. You know, now people are wearing these meta glasses. You know, I mean, it's like we can't get away from the technology, right? But for whatever reason, when you walk into a movie theater, there is still an assumption that we are all going to put our phones down for 2 hours, that we are all going to try to immerse ourselves in what's on screen and really let it just wash over us. And that, I think, is where transformation can happen. And I think a story well told through the medium of a film with moving pictures and music can absolutely change hearts. And we've seen it happen. Of course, it can be used for evil, but when it's used for good, it's really good. And these films that we're bringing to New York City here in a couple of weeks are really good films that are really going to help, I think, create space for us to think about some things maybe we're not thinking about, provoke some conversations that we need to have, challenge our thinking on some issues. And that's really why we try to do this.
Yeah, and since I've gotten to know you a couple of years ago and about the Justice Film Festival, um, justicefilmfest.com, is it? Yeah,
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 justicefilmfest.com. That's
yeah,
our website. We've got our whole schedule
yeah.
up there. We're going to be in New York City from February 24th to the 26th. We're going to be all over town. We're going to be in Chinatown. We're going to be in Chelsea. We're going to be up at Lincoln Center with you all. So we've got a couple of different locations where it's easy for people to find us. And over those 3 days, we're going to watch about 30 different films. We've got 6 feature films and about 25 shorts. And everything you can imagine: environmental justice, racial justice, immigration, trafficking, criminal justice. We're covering a lot of ground in these films this year because that's what's happening in the world.
It's wonderful. As I say, I've been starting to follow them, and you've pointed me, and Justice Film Festival has pointed me to so many films I would have overlooked. Even as I consider myself a savvy enough film goer, there's so many great films that just slip
Yeah.
beneath the waves, the digital waves. So I'm so grateful that you're pointing these out. Name, you said 30 films. Name a couple that you're excited about.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it is really part of the reason we do this is to create a platform for some of these movies that just get missed. Maybe they came and went, and people just, because of what was happening in the world, they didn't quite get the traction that they were meant to. Many of these movies have not come out at all. Many of these are films that have only so far played in a handful of other film festivals. Several of them are world premieres that have never been seen anywhere else that we're going to premiere at Justice Film Festival. I'll tell you the thing that I'm most excited about, mostly because it's just the newest thing that we've got, is a project that we just brought into our program. It's called Seeds. And it was the grand jury prize winner at Sundance this prior year. And it's an incredible film about Black farmers in America. And it's a little bit history, and it's mostly about what's happening today, interweaving stories of 3 different generations of farmers, some of their struggles, some of their triumphs. It's an absolutely beautiful film. It happens to be in black and white, very artistic film, directed by Brittany Shine. And we're going to have some of the filmmakers there with us to share this movie, really engage in this conversation about what does it look like for us to, for our Black brothers and sisters to be able to own this land that they've been promised in many cases. And what does it look like to have sustainable farming practices still in the, mega corp agri farming world that we live in, where that's not so much of a thing anymore. What does it look like for the legacy of this tradition to continue to live on in the United States? So beautiful movie, big movie at Sundance, really fun and exciting for us to get to bring it to New York. Another film that we're going to get to share at Fordham actually is a movie called I Was a Stranger. A little bit rare for us. This is not a documentary. As you can imagine, social justice, a lot of docs, a lot of nonfiction. This is a scripted narrative feature. And it tells the story of a doctor from Aleppo in Syria, war-torn Syria, who, along with her family, is trying to escape that country and get to a safer part of the world. Finds herself and finds her family in the middle of a refugee camp in Turkey. In an effort to escape that camp, ends up on an inflatable boat in the middle of the Mediterranean. And the climax of this film is really beautiful, in that the Coast Guard from Greece intercepts this boat, and everybody has to make choices about what is the value of life, what is the value of humanity, where do my orders begin and end in the kind of professional vocational world that I live in, and where do my orders as a human begin and end? Where do I need to show up as a person on this earth? So just a beautiful film. It's very touching and moving. It's powerful. It's gripping. It's raw and beautiful. Wonderful energy in this movie. And that's a real highlight that we'll share on Wednesday, the 25th, right there on your campus.
Yeah, we're so excited to have. In fact, we're already sold out. We have a waiting list. Please join. You can go to the our website, the CRC Center on Religion and Culture at Fordham, and you can find all of these at justicefilmfest.com. But we're again starring that this film starring Omar Sy, a favorite of mine, French African actor from Lupin. You'll know him from other things. Just really a powerful film, as you say. We'll also be offering, thanks to Andy, um, free entry to all of these other films. For those who can come to this film, I Was a Stranger, you'll also be able to get a QR code to get you into all the other films that are going to be shown throughout this festival. Just an amazing film festival. It could not be more timely, given what's going on in our country and our world.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to talk about, right? And of course, we could have a film festival running 24/7 for a couple of weeks easily, with the number of things probably that we need to be leaning into. So, this is a snapshot. It's not meant to be overwhelming, and to be frank, it's also very hopeful and affirming and life giving. I think there are times where we have to force ourselves to look at some hard things and have some hard conversations, look at ourselves in the mirror and ask ourselves some questions. But we also have some just incredibly inspiring people that are presented in these films that show us that despite the darkness and despite the struggle, that there is real hope and there is real goodness and there's good people and there's good things that are happening. One film that comes to mind along those lines is a film we're premiering called Handmade Future. It's about artisans and makers from around the world who have found a way to use their gifts in craft making to create sustainable futures for them and their families and generations to come. It's this movement towards kind of a common good centered view of creating and how do we want to interact with the products that we consume in our lives? What's a sustainable way of looking at that, as opposed to just cheap production that we can go pick up at the store versus really investing in something that someone has cared to make. And what does it look like and how our choices affect people from around the world as consumers. So this is a great movie, great thing to consider, but presented in just a really beautiful, hopeful way that I think will be inspiring to people. We've got films about addiction. We've got films about gun control that are really meant to be the jumping off point just for good conversations. And that's really what we're about. We're not really here to tell people what to think. We want to engage people in dialogue because we happen to think that is the way. That is the way forward for us to simply be in dialogue and to be in conversation with each other instead of taking up sides and it's us versus them all the time. That's for sure not where we're at. So ultimately, on the whole, I think that's what these films represent, and it's always fun to bring them to New York City.
Andy Peterson, Justice Film Festival, justicefilmfest.com. Thanks so much, Andy, for being with us. And we're looking forward to seeing you later this month and seeing these great films. Thanks so much.
Thanks, David. Great to be here. We'll see you soon.